When you mean manage the network, what do you mean there? Is it sort of making sure that the cell towers are redundant or that the latency time is, adequate?
Yeah, so this is at many different levels because, again, the networks are very complex infrastructures that are separated into domains. You have a radio domain that is the cell towers, essentially. You have a transport domain that is all the transport layer that allows bits of information to flow between the radio part and the core part, that is the third big domain, that is where all the, let's say, accounting happens, all the internal routing, the interfacing to the internet, and so on and so forth. So it's multiple domains, and, radio, transport, and core are really the basic ones. As I was saying, networks are becoming more and more complex, so the radio domain is being disaggregated, it's being softwareized. The same is happening in the core. These domains are being transformed in many micro domains that interact with each other. So depending at which domain or micro domain you're looking at, when I speak about resources, that can mean completely different things. To give you an example, and for us, and NetAI is one of the key, let's say, examples because it's something we are working on a lot. The radio access, you have these cells that provide coverage to the users, and the cells are very redundant because of capacity reasons. So the way we use our mobile phones is very diverse over space and time, as you can imagine. So, very simple example, overnight, very few people are using the cellular networks, while during the peak hours at a train station, you have plenty of users. So you have these huge fluctuations in the spatio-temporal mobile traffic, and the operator needs to dimension their radio access, their cell deployment to the peak, right? You want to be able to serve the users when you have the maximum demand. The point is, this peak happens twice a day, maybe, and that's it, for a few tens of minutes. And the rest of the time, you have a huge radio access that is underutilized. And with the current technologies, until today, I would say, operators didn't do much about that, and the cells were essentially active all the time, which implies a huge waste of energy, because cells consume a lot of power. Actually, the radio access is the part of the network that consumes the most power. In that case, in that specific example, when I speak about resources, I speak of the coverage provided by the cells. So nowadays, operators start the technology, let's say the radio access, starts to enable operator to switch off cells based on some policy or logic. And this is where we come into play, because our technology, as an example, can learn how and when to switch off cells in a way that coverage is guaranteed, all users are served, and yet the energy consumption of the network is minimized. And that's just one example, right? I could give you other if we moved from this domain to other domains. So it really depends on the domain.